So this is the code that we have written in the client page.php. In this lecture, we want to see how we could find a vulnerability and why there is even a vulnerability, and therefore how we could exploit or patch it. So like all my courses that I explained, first we need to go deep and learn the concept so that we on our own could just find the exploit or patch rather than just copy paste some code to say that this could damage or patch a vulnerability. So in here, if you look again as a brief overview, we have created an object which has connected to the database residing on this IP address, which is the address of my web server. The user is MGH, the password is mypass, and this is the database that we have created in this web server in the previous lectures. Then we say if these two fields in the web page are set, then we would want to send a query. The query says that select a specific field with the name of security number from a table called a staff in the database of test1, where email is whatever the user enters in this field and the password is whatever the user enters in the second field. In here we define them as these two variables, and email and password are two columns in our database, as you see in here. So we want the user to provide the email and password, and if they match, which means that if they have the right to have access to the website, then the security number of them would be assigned to them so that they could use that to just access everything in the website. So as you see, whatever the user is entering in the field would be directly replaced over these two variables. So what the user could do is just he could enter some malicious code in here to deceive the database into processing the code somehow that he could access other things. What we mean is that, first let me give you another example in here. Let's say that the user enters in the something called MGH user, for example, in the email field in here. So this is MGH user, and for the password it says MGH 1 2 3 4 and 5. So if you look at the code in here, it says select security number from a staff where email is equal to the above or the top field. So in this case it says where the email column or email field in the database is equal to MGH user and the password is equal to MGH 1 2 3 4 and 5. So this query would be sent to the database. It would process this statement in here, looks at the database. Do we have any username and password, any combination with these two? No, we don't have. So it would return an error saying wrong username or password. As you see, login, and it says wrong email or password. Or in another case, let's provide a valid email like mghgh1629@gmail.com. So this is the email, but for the password I want to say 1 2 3 4 and 5. In this case, the query that is sent to the database would be this. So in this case, even though there is a valid username or valid email in the field, but the password is wrong, and because in the MySQL query we have an AND statement in here rather than AND means that the combination should be true. So again, we would have a wrong password, or that as you see, wrong email or password. But now let's in the database, instead of AND, for example, we say or. Let's say that the developer of this application by mistake, instead of saying AND, he has said or. So in this case it says that if email is if the email that the user is inputting in the email field is equal to the email column in the database, or the password is right, then you would want the security number to be provided for the user. Let's see what would happen in this case. So again, this would be the valid email, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the password. Now, when the user says login, as you see, the user gets the security code because of this OR. So instead of the combination, the developer has said OR. Now one of them, when one of them is true, it would return the information to the user, and it doesn't make any difference if we say the email is right or the password is right. So again, let's just change it to and. Now we want to use this to hack the application.